Gracie Jiu-Jitsu rocks. Welcome to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast, a podcast dedicated to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and all things Gracie, including self-defense, competition, anti-bullying, women's self-defense and empowerment, nutrition, and most especially, the people involved in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. This podcast is for the average Joe. It's for anyone who practices, trains, teaches, or just loves to talk about or hear about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. We'll explore the lives of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, how they got involved in the art, and what effect it's had on their lives. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome to episode 20 of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast. As always, I'm your host, Marty Josie, and thanks for listening. Today my guest will be Master Keith Owen, who's a Pedro Sauer black belt, and we'll get to that in just a couple of moments. But before that, I had a few items I wanted to cover, starting with on the last episode of the show, I mistakenly said that Gracie had just had a baby boy, when in fact it was a baby girl. So was thinking girl and said boy, so wanted to go ahead and own that and make that correction. Also wanted to give a shout out to some people who've recently done great jobs in competitions, starting with Clay Mayfield. And Clay was featured in the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment on one of the previous episodes. And Clay recently did very well at the Gracie Worlds. He brought home second place in the Purple Belt Gi division, as well as second place in the Open Absolute division. So outstanding job. Clay also very recently made his MMA debut and scored a first round victory via armbar to get that win. So very good job, Clay. Very proud of you. Keep up the great work. A second shout out is to Nico Dehan, and Nico was featured in our last episode, and Nico recently went to the Masters World Championships and secured a second place finish there. So excellent job, Nico. And third is Tim Hufford, who's local to me and trains at Chapel Hill Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Tim recently went to the Masters Worlds and secured a third place finish for his division. So excellent job, Tim, as well. All three of you guys deserve some serious kudos. Outstanding job. Keep up the great work, guys. Okay, moving on to our jiu-jitsu quote. And the quote is, "I see fear as a sign of intelligence, of preservation." And this quote is from Master Hickson Gracie. And this feeds nicely into our product review of the episode as well, which talks about fear. So most people think of fear as in a very negative way. I mean, who wants to experience fear? But fear can also be our ally, and if recognized and used in the right way, can help us a great deal. So this week's product review is a book called The Gift of Fear, and the author is Gavin DeBecker. And in my opinion, it should be a must-read for pretty much everybody. A couple of stats from the book. Each hour, 75 women are raped in the United States, and every few seconds a woman is beaten. Each day, 400,000 Americans suffer shooting injuries, and another 1,100 face criminals armed with guns. So Mr. DeBecker says victims of violent behavior usually feel a sense of fear before any threat or violence takes place. They may distrust the fear, or it may impel them to some action that saves their lives. And he believes that we can all learn to recognize these signals of the, quote, universal code of violence, unquote, and use them as tools to help us survive. The book teaches how to identify the warning signals of potential attackers and recommends strategies for dealing with the problem before it becomes life-threatening. There are some great case studies, and it also includes tactics for dealing with these situations. Another premise of the book is that people don't just, quote, snap and become violent. There is a process as observable and often as predictable as water coming to a boil. And learning to predict violence is the cornerstone to preventing it. Gavin DeBecker has a master's in psychology of violence, and his clients include federal government agencies, celebrities, and police departments, as well as shelters for battered women. Another thing that stands out about this book is that it talks a lot about your intuition, and that we as humans are the only species, if you will, that kind of tries to use our logic to override the intuition that we get when we feel like something's wrong. A lot of times we will explain it away in our own mind, like, I'm just being irrational, or, I'm just being silly, or whatever. But this book definitely tells us to focus on tuning into that intuition and using it. So anyway, great book. If you've never read it, I suggest you check it out. And by the way, I just want to say that I have no political agenda in talking about this book. When I was quoting those violent stats, which included firearms, I in no way was trying to advocate one way or another any of the whole gun issue. My guest today actually teaches firearms, and I certainly wouldn't have him on if I was against firearms or people's rights to have those. So just wanted to make sure that was clear. I'm mainly interested in this book and wanted to talk about it because it helps people recognize those warning signals that can give us an idea of when violence might occur. If you want more information about the book, there's a link on the website, so check it out there. Okay, moving on. My guest today is Keith Owen, who is a longtime martial artist. He's a Pedro Sauer black belt. He's also the primary use of force instructor at the Idaho Police Academy. He's the owner and head instructor at Ultimate Karate and Jiu-Jitsu in Meridian, Idaho. And Keith is in high demand as a seminar instructor, traveling around the world teaching Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. He also owns Ultimate Firearms Training, where he teaches firearms classes as well as concealed weapons classes. So let's meet him now. Okay, Mr. Owen, how are you?
I am awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much and do you mind if I call you Keith?
Call me Keith. That's no problem.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us today, or being with me on the show. And just let the listeners know, I've never had a chance to meet you in person yet, but I've been kind of a fan from a distance. Certainly know of you through jiu-jitsu circles, and also a big fan of your YouTube videos, which we'll discuss a little bit here in a moment. So again, thank you so much for being with us.
I appreciate you saying that. That's very nice of you.
Fantastic. So if you would just give us an idea of, what your life's been like, where you grew up, what got you into martial arts, and how that whole journey has been for you.
Sure. My life has rocked, basically, especially since I found jiu-jitsu about 22 years ago. If you'd like something about my background, I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I had that's where I lived for a long time, and then my family moved to Idaho. And I have always liked martial arts ever since I first saw it as a kid, and I wanted to take martial arts. I mean, I was excited about it. I knew that's what I wanted to do, but my parents were really poor, and we couldn't afford martial arts lessons at the time, and so I had to wait until I was about 16 years old before I could buy them myself. I never got picked on when I was a kid, but I saw plenty of people who got picked on and harassed and just bullied by other people. And it made me want to go, hey, I want to defend myself against people that, because there's bad people in the world. And, truthfully, all I want to do in life is be nice to other people. But if other people don't want to be nice to me, I'll kick their ass. And
well said.
It's just a straight up kind of deal because I just want to go through life being nice to people. But there are a lot of people. And so anyway, I was 16 years old. I started in Kempo karate, and I was in Kempo, and I took that for 6 months to a year. I really loved it, man. I thought about it all the time. And then my instructor up and left town in the middle of the night.
That's not good.
Yeah, and he took my money with him.
No way.
So that really sucked. And then I got into another martial art, in a kung fu style of martial arts. And, I did that for a number of years, got my black belt through that. And then I went on, took lessons from a man named Joe Cowles. And Joe Cowles is the founder of Wu Wei Kung Fu. And he is a former student of Bruce Lee's back in the Seattle days. And Joe was a mailman in Seattle and decided to take this new thing called Kung Fu. And he went down into this little church and he saw this little Chinese guy teaching class, and he just sat there and watched, and this Chinese guy was awesome. And finally he said, I got to go take this. I'm going to go learn this. And the guy was Bruce Lee down there. And then he started taking lessons with him for, a number of years. And I was fortunate enough to meet Joe, and Joe would train me. And so, I got my black sash through Joe.
Wow, that's great.
And then I decided to start doing Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And Gracie Jiu-Jitsu rocks, by the way. That's what I tell you.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. How did you find your way to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu?
Well, this is not a glamorous story or anything like that. I was about 24 years old. I'm 45 right now, and I was 24, 23 years old, and I saw Royce Gracie kick the crap out of Dan Severn, triangled him, and I went, oh man, that is awesome.
Yeah, you were hooked, right?
I was hooked, and I had to do it. I got to learn this because I was already a black belt at the time. I had a black belt. I thought I was really something special, and come to find out I wasn't. And so I went, I got to take this, But there was only like 3 places in the country where you could take jiu-jitsu, and it was at the Gracie Academy in California. Craig Kukuk, I think, Craig Kukuk and Henzo Gracie.
Yep.
I
remember those videos.
New Jersey, yeah, and you remember those, don't you?
Oh yeah.
I do too. And then Pedro Sauer in Salt Lake, I found Professor Sauer, and man, I'm so glad that I did. And he took me as a student, and I've been a student of his now for 22 years. He's been let me say he's not been my only instructor because I moved to Las Vegas for a couple years to do something, and there was no Pedro Sauer Association people there, but I got every belt through Professor Sauer, and I'm very proud of that fact.
Nice. Absolutely. He is one of the most well-respected jiu-jitsu practitioners and professors in the world for sure. So awesome opportunity for you.
Since you brought up Professor Sauer real quick, and we can talk about him in detail if you'd like, but he literally, I personally believe, is one of the greatest jiu-jitsu instructors that has ever lived. And I know that you have an instructor and everybody has an instructor and they go, yeah, whatever. But literally, I feel that Professor Sauer is the Mozart of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Anybody who's gone to one of his seminars and talked to him, I literally think the man knows everything about Jiu-Jitsu and the way he does it is so simple. There's not a lot of moves. And even if you're not one of his students and you never want to be one of his students, if you just watch his videos, I promise you'll pick something up about the man. And I'm just very proud to be his student.
Awesome. I love how you described it as the Mozart, or described him as the Mozart of Jiu-Jitsu. That's pretty cool.
He is. He's very talented, natural, gifted man.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So talking about your one thing that kind of led me to you is your YouTube videos. And I really enjoy those. If you're listening and you haven't seen any of Keith's YouTube videos, definitely check it out. He has quite a few, not only with technique, but I really enjoy the philosophy videos you have. Like I know you did one on respect in Jiu-Jitsu and tapping 10,000 times. Lifetime of Jiu-Jitsu, the training mindset, and those are some of my favorites, but really great great. Really love how you bring the philosophy alive in jiu-jitsu.
Well, I really think that's what's lacking in jiu-jitsu, because I see everybody doing jiu-jitsu moves, but I don't see a lot of people talking about the philosophy of jiu-jitsu and about the thought process behind it. And Professor Sauer has been really instrumental in making me think about jiu-jitsu, and he gives those philosophical viewpoints along with teaching the jiu-jitsu. He'll be doing moves, and then all of a sudden he'll sit there for 10 minutes talking about some philosophical idea of jiu-jitsu that makes you understand the concepts of how to do jiu-jitsu better. And I really feel that that's lacking today in jiu-jitsu. People are real good at doing moves and doing the physical thing, but the mental aspect of it is, I think, is lacking. And that's what I want to give to students, because I think it's very important. And if I'm going to have a positive effect on jiu-jitsu, I think it's really through the philosophy. And to some extent to the technique as well. I mean, I try to have awesome technique, but I really want, if I could say something about blue belts not quitting, which I recently did a video on that about why blue belts quit. If I could keep blue belts from not quitting, even one guy who went, man, I heard that, and just because of what you said, I decided not to quit, then I have done my job. And that's what I'm looking for, is I'm really addicted to jiu-jitsu, and I really want to see it grow, because there's a lot of crappy martial arts out there, and you might disagree with that, but
No, I completely agree with
that.
that.
A ton of crappy martial arts, and jiu-jitsu is, especially Gracie jiu-jitsu, is a very effective form of self-defense, and my job is to spread it to the entire world. And if I can keep one guy who maybe goes on and gets his black belt, he'll help 20, 30, 50, 100, 2,000 more people from just that one video. And so that's what I'm trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. It really does start the ripple effect. And I applaud you on that, because, technique is important, obviously, but I agree with you that whole philosophical element is many times missing in a lot of places and with a lot of art. So I really like how you're talking about blue belt is so important. That's the biggest drop off, I believe, after someone gets to the blue, and the journey just seems like it's going to be endless. A lot of reasons, but I like how you focus on if you can just keep one of those from dropping off, and then again it starts the ripple effect, and there's no telling how many lives will be touched through that one action. So awesome.
Yeah, thanks. And just to say something real quick, I see a lot of blue belts quit, but here is a freaky concept that I still haven't wrapped my head around, that I have seen several times. Not as much as blue belts, but I see a lot of brown belts quitting jiu-jitsu as well. How crazy is that?
That's pretty crazy.
You spend years doing jiu-jitsu, and right before you're about to get your black belt, you quit. Seriously, I've seen this about 4 times. I mean, and that's a lot for a guy who's a brown. And they make excuses. Oh, I don't know. I'm too hurt. I'm too this. I don't know. I've done enough. And I quit jiu-jitsu at brown belt as well. And that's why it makes me think about that, because I quit jiu-jitsu I quit jiu-jitsu for 30 minutes one time. I said, I've had it. And for that 30 minutes, you could have said, nope, come on, Keith. No, I'm done. I've had it. I don't need any more of this.
That's funny.
And then 30 minutes later, I went, what the hell am I saying right now? I am almost a black belt. I'm going to keep going and take.
That's crazy. It really boggles me that people spend that much time and that much commitment and dedication, for so long to get to brown belt. It's not an easy path by any means. And wow, it just boggles me that, unless there's some severe injury that you just can't anymore. But other than that, man, that's just kind of crazy.
Well, if you're a brown belt listening to this, don't quit. We're almost there.
I assure you, when I get to brown belt someday, I will not quit. So
thank you.
And keeping on the subject of the YouTube videos, I saw a really cool video with you rolling with heater on Gracie. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, I put that out there myself because I thought it was kind of cool. I had been at a seminar with Huron, and this was me at one of his seminars. So, I went to 2 of his seminars, and they were both great. So I went to one, then I went to the other one on the other side of our state. And I had seen Huron grapple with a few people, and I didn't get my chance on the first time. And I was just there, and I had a great seminar. I said, hey, I'm going to, I'd like to roll with Huron. This would be cool. But, it's his seminar, man. I'm not going there to try to kick the crap out of him or have a death match or something. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. They think, wow, Huron, had his way with Keith Owen. I don't think people think that. I don't think people think that, but some people, there's the guys that do. I mean, and you just go, dude, this was at his seminar, and I just wanted to roll with him for a little bit. And it was a completely fun time. We were having a great time, and we have the exact same technique. The keep it playful. That's it. Keep it playful.
Yeah.
Having a good time. And if people see that, they can see that we're just having a good time and playing around. I could have kept that going for, I felt real good about it. I think he felt real good about it. And then pretty much, it got to a certain point. I said, it's time for me to lose. And then I just tapped. And I'm not saying that Huron cannot tap me out. He certainly can. But it's going to be a little while longer. I mean,
sure.
Pedro Sauer black belt. I could go, but he's fantastic. He's awesome. And I don't even care that. I'm glad I did not win that guy, because he's just so awesome, and I just wanted to roll with the dude. That's all it is. And when you understand my philosophy and what I try to accomplish, with Hurons too, it's about having a good time and playing, and winning and losing are really irrelevant. It's like, so what? But then some guys are so caught up in winning and losing, miss the whole point that we're just trying to show you two guys that are rolling and having fun and giving an example of what Gracie Jiu-Jitsu should really be and how you should train in the school. Now, that's not training at at a tournament or out on the street.
Sure.
That's not none of that. But it's just, how can we have a good time and play? And it was a completely fun time. And I said, I'm going to post that. And I got, a lot of people liked it, but there was a lot of people that were like, oh, it comes down to winning and losing.
Oh, for whatever.
And they missed the point of the whole deal.
Yes.
It wasn't even anything like that. Hell, I'll wrestle him 10 more times. That's cool. I'll lose every time. I don't care. It's like, I was not sitting there trying to submit him. And it just got to a point where we were rolling, showing everybody a good time, and then boom, time for me to leave. See ya. And
I thought it was an incredibly awesome and beautiful display of high level, great jiu-jitsu, staying safe, those survival skills, both of you keeping it playful, without the ego.
Yeah.
And that's how you last a long time in this and keep it part of your life. There's always a place to try to win, maybe in your competitions or whatever, but I thought it was just awesome. And most of the people listening to this certainly know about that keep it playful mentality and mindset. So I'm sure they could appreciate, the ones that have seen it or the ones that haven't, when they do see it, will certainly appreciate just the awesome exchange and display you guys shared and showed.
Yeah, I appreciate him. He here on Gracie is an awesome instructor. I'm just amazed. I learned so much from that guy. He is just tremendous. And if you ever get an opportunity to go to one of his seminars, you might want to do it, because it's full of just gold of how to do jiu-jitsu.
I completely agree and echo that. All right, Keith, tell us a little bit about your time off the mat. Do you have a favorite activity besides Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, or do you even have time for anything else?
Well, I love to shoot. I'm a firearms kind of guy, man. I train people in firearms. I have several things I like to do, but shooting is my one of the loves of my life. And I told you that I went down to Las Vegas for a couple years. What I was doing down there was I was a firearms instructor. That's what I decided to do. I'd originally been a martial arts instructor, and I wanted to be a firearms instructor. And you can call it a midlife crisis or whatever, but I really just wanted to go shoot guns. And that's what I did. I was out there in the middle of the Nevada desert, and I taught rich people how to shoot for about 2 years. And that's what, every day out on the range.
Nice.
It was such an awesome, and I don't want to get too far off of what we're talking about, but it was such an awesome experience to go train firearms, and not just about the shooting, but as in a life lesson for me as well. And here's what I'm talking about. And I've been thinking about this, so I'm going to bring this up to you. I've been pondering this. I see a lot of black belts and a lot of black belts instructors, And man, I got to tell you, their ego is through the roof. It's like when you get a black belt in jiu-jitsu, it's like you feel that you are literally the greatest thing that's ever walked the face of the earth. And especially if you have a school. So if you have a school and you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu, you are kind of like the big fish in that pond. And it just amazes me when I talk to other black belts how they just have to go and like I am so awesome and I am so this and I used to be like that. I just want to say that I used to be that guy. And the guy, the emperor has no clothes.
Yeah.
No one's going to tell him that, man, you're an egotistical jerk. I was going to use profanity, but
yeah, thanks for keeping it clean.
That's probably not appropriate. But they think that they're so awesome, and they are awesome for sure. But man, they become almost tyrannical in how they run their schools. The students have to do everything, and the students, you must look up to me, and you must do everything I tell you to do, and I am the king, and you are my servants. And I know some people might be listening, well, that's not how it is in my school. Well, trust me, there are a lot of schools where they have the king there, and the king sets all the rules, and his ego must be taken into account when you talk to him and everything. And I used to be that guy. I want to tell you, I was a martial arts instructor, and I used to be that guy. And I moved to Las Vegas and became a firearms instructor. And the first day I was a firearms instructor, everybody was like, before that, it was everybody used to just pay me homage and was really, I'm a great man and all of this. And I was a firearms instructor, and I my first day, and so we go into the employee meeting after we're done on the range, and I go into the employee meeting, and they go, hey, Keith, you're going to need to leave. You can't be in here. And I was like,
wow.
I was like, whoa, like, what do you mean I work here now? Yeah, well, you haven't earned your way through this yet. So you have.
Whoa.
Well, I'm out in the middle of the desert, so where am I going to go? You know what I'm saying? Because I got in a ride from a friend. So I'm out there in the middle of the desert. And I go out there and I sit down on this table. And I'm on this table and I'm sitting there. And it's outside of this tent. And I can hear everything that they're saying inside the meeting. And they aren't saying anything about me. It's not even about me. They just were mean and made me stand outside the whole time. And I sat there and it dawned on me, you know what, Keith? You aren't as awesome as you think you are. You are in a different environment now. And just because you're not just because your students suck up to you because you're the martial arts instructor and you hold their rank over them, you're nothing here. And that really hit home to me. And, 2 years later, I worked there 2 years later, and it really made me a better person. And now when I came back into the martial arts and with doing jiu-jitsu and all of that, it makes me, I think, be a more humble person, a more nicer person. And it makes me realize that I work for my students. My students do not work for me. I am there to serve them. They are not here to serve me. And you've heard of a lot of different martial arts guys who might have gotten into trouble by, I don't know, sleeping with students or, treating students bad or having favorites in class. And, and I have none of that in my school. I treat everybody equally. And some people might disagree, but I'm really trying my best. And I think that's the thing that I want to share with everybody is that, man, there are so many instructors that they think that it's all about them, and it's really not. It's all about the students. We got to get that white belt to black belt. He needs the help or she needs the help. And we are their servants. They are not our servants. And I think black belts in jiu-jitsu need to realize that. And then they'll have success because people want to help you.
You're right. What an incredible shift, and I've seen that mentality a lot, in all martial arts, but not just jiu-jitsu, but certainly there too, where the instructor, feels like acts like they walk on water and bow down to me. But what a great shift to have the our servant mentality, where hey, I'm here to serve you and help you become the best you can be, and
let me just add, private lessons, black belt private lessons can be kind of expensive, and people pay a lot of money. Well, people pay a lot of money for my black belt private lessons, to be honest. I'll be like, since I feel that I have this, I am your servant, I am here to help you. I'll be like a white belt. Hey, I want to give you and your buddy a private lesson. I want you guys to get going good here. We're going to spend an hour working on your basic stuff. I'm not making any money off the thing. I just want to help them. And I'm not bragging or anything, but I'm just saying, hey, as a black belt, you need to do what you need to do to get your students good. And that means spend extra time with them. I quit trying to cut corners and do as little as possible. See how much you can do, how much more you can do to help your students. And you will see great success by that. I mean, go out of your way for people. And a lot of these guys don't do it. They're just egotistical jerks. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yep. You're right. I love your attitude, though. It makes a lot of sense. And tons more people will ultimately respond to that than the old, knock them down, keep them down, be harsh. There's always a certain little element that may respond to that, but across the board and a larger picture, I really believe there's a lot more people out there that certainly would appreciate where you're coming from much more than the others.
Well, I mean, and not to hijack what we're doing here, but it's hard to be a white belt starting out. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
It's a hugely scary thing for you to come into the school. You are manning up or womaning up and coming into the school and going, I'm going to take this class. Are these people going to beat me? Am I going to get hurt? And all of this. And then you get into the class and then you find that people don't help you, or they just try to beat the crud out of you, and they're not trying to be nice, and they're not accepting you. Oh, you got to earn your way in. You want to be accepted, you got to earn your way in. And it's like, wow, man. Well, we wonder why people leave in droves from Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools. You wonder why the Taekwondo schools do so well. It's because they take the weak people and escort them and hold their hand right in all the way to black belt. That's what they're doing. And it's
so true.
You have to prove, you have to be tough. Only the strong survive here. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is made for weak people. It is for people
Absolutely.
That are not naturally athletic. If you are a naturally athletic guy who does Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, you will be super fantastic. But if you're a guy who's not so athletic, you will be very, very, very good. And but the problem is starting out, you're going to suck. You're going to be that weak guy. You're going to be the guy who's not strong. And they need a helping hand. White belts need a helping hand.
Absolutely.
And that's why we take them under our wing and we help them.
Absolutely. You're going to be out of your comfort zone just going in there and then not knowing the moves, not knowing, any of that stuff. So you're already in a very uncomfortable position. And it makes all the difference in the world if someone kind of takes you under their wing, shows you around, helps you along, as opposed to that old badass mentality, like you're going to prove yourself and I'm going to tear you up for a while. If you survive and stay long enough, then hey, you can be one of us. And that's just so not cool.
Well, I always tell people that, a student will stay typically for 3 reasons. First of all, they like you. They got to like you as a person. And they got to feel comfortable with you as the instructor. And if you're an instructor that wonders why you don't have every single student and why your competition has students, it's just because they feel more comfortable over there. I have people that I see in other places as students going, I wouldn't want them as my student. That's not the kind of person that I want.
Right.
And so you'll get the kind of person that you really are. You'll get the kind of student that you really are, is what I'm trying to say. You'll attract who you really are. So they have to like you, right? Secondly, they have to trust you. If you're not there to guide them and help them, like I know, because we treat white belts like, oh, just come to class and keep doing it, but they don't feel like they're being helped, and they don't feel like they're there's no individual attention. Does that make sense? I mean,
absolutely.
People want individual attention. And if you're not giving them, it's like, oh, I just walk on the mat and I grace you with my presence and I never talk to this white belt because they haven't earned their way up yet. That person's probably going to leave because he's a human being, man. So a lot of my students are great men outside of jiu-jitsu. Like they are literally presidents of companies, top salespeople. I have some guys, doctors, police officers. I have people who are great men, and just because they start jiu-jitsu, they're not scum. They're not little
right.
They want to be treated with respect and like, hey, I just want to. I know that I wanted Professor Sauer to be nice to me and think I'm cool, and he did, and that's why I stayed, because he always Professor Sauer always had a way of smiling at one dude, winking at another, come over and give me a hug, and you just go, wow, dude, I like this guy, right?
Yeah.
We like,
Made you feel special.
yeah, and we trust him, meaning I'm not going to get screwed over by this guy. He's there to help me. And then they like what you have to offer, I mean, sometimes the martial art isn't right for them. It's not, sometimes jujitsu isn't right for some people. They just don't want to do it. Or taekwondo isn't right for some people. They just don't want to do it.
Right.
But I think those are kind of like the three reasons why, people will stay. And I think the number one thing is are you paying attention to your students and to your white belts? And if you are, then you'll typically keep them.
Absolutely. Completely agree.
I don't know if I'm getting off track. I typically do, but
that's quite all right. There's no specific agenda that we got to stay on. I just want to basically let people know, more about you and what your journey's like. So, but let me ask you, if you could train with anyone, living or deceased, who would that be and why? And who's had the greatest influence and impact on your life, both related to jiu-jitsu and non-jiu-jitsu related?
Well, Professor Sauer has, I guess say Professor Sauer, people joke and call me a mindless Pedro Sauer robot. I've been called that a couple times because, man, I'm just his big fan. I just think he's awesome. I mean, and other people will think that too. If I could train with Professor Sauer all the time, I'd be perfectly fine with that. And, Professor Sauer has been one of the biggest influences on me. Well, and my Wu Wei instructor, Joe Cowles, as well. I mean, he was a huge influence on me as well. And I don't feel that there's very many people that have been a real big influence on me as far as the way they live their life. And Professor Sauer has always been that kind of guy. And he's just a decent human being and a good person. Having said that, who would I like to train with? Man, I'd like to train with Rickson Gracie. I would like to train, I'd like to train with everybody, really. I really enjoy, I did a video on going to seminars and why black belts should keep on attending seminars. And man, I try to go to as many seminars as I can because I just love training with people. I just came back from a JT Torres seminar just recently, and man, he's just a great guy. That kid is a decent human being, and he really knows jiu-jitsu quite well. And I was very glad to have been able to train with him. And then the night before, I went to Pedro Sauer black belt Matt Strack seminar, and Matt Strack is one of the top Pedro Sauer black belts. So, if I could just one person, I don't really know. I would really like to just train with everybody, man. And I don't even really care if you're a black belt. If you got cool moves to show me, I really enjoy it. I try to be a student as much as I can. And if people like my material, it's just because I'm a good student. That's really all it is. I try to learn from other people and I rip off their material, and people think it's mine, and it's really not.
Well, you put it into practice, and you spread the word, spread it to others, right?
Yes. I don't know if I answered that question, but Rickson Gracie would be really cool. I'd like to train him.
Absolutely.
That would be awesome. He's Professor Sauer's instructor.
And I did get a chance to train with him many years ago.
Nice.
So I feel really fortunate to that, but nothing like it. Let's change gears for just a second, Keith. What's something about you that people might be surprised to learn about or hear about?
Well, I don't know if people will be surprised to learn about this. I'm really big into the survival community, and I have a YouTube channel called Survival Skills 101. I do a lot of stuff on that, and I'm really big into the outdoors. This year, I have probably gone camping, hiking. Well, where I've stayed the night, I don't know, 25, 30 times this year. I go out into some remote wilderness. I'm big on the whole survivalist thing, prepping. And my channel reflects that too. And I just think it's important. And, they always look at guys who prep and are survivalists as some kind of paranoid freaks and stuff like that. And that's cool. I guess I could be called a freak, but I just call it being prepared, and it's really served me well in my life because, man, I never run out of anything. I already have a lot of, stuff on hand when I need it. And, basically, just in the last 100 years, our ancestors were out on the plains of wherever and in the fields of wherever, and they had to keep supplies and keep prepared. And just the self-reliance. And I think it's important in today's day and age with all kinds of threats and just things that could go wrong as far as natural disasters. And here's an example, just for instance, and I won't take up too much of your time on this, but there are so many people that maybe they live in like a hurricane-prone place where they don't even prepare, and they so freak out at the last minute and try to go shop at a store, and there's nothing on the store shelves because everybody took it all, and because they're not prepared. And if you live in a hurricane place, you got to think, wow, well, eventually there's going to be a hurricane coming, and I probably make preparations for that. And people don't do that, and heck, people don't even like. When they drive in their car in the winter, don't even take a coat with them, and they're in crappy shoes because they never think they're going to break down. And modern society has just made people complacent, and that's not the lifestyle that I live. And just the other day, my neighbor comes over. Hey, I'm out of gas. Do you have any gas? Yeah, I got gas, man. I got plenty. Here, have some, right? And it's just that dude would have, I don't know how he would have managed, it's just remarkable to me. So I do survival skills 101, and it's a lot of fun, and I just do different things with it, and it's just a fantastic time, as well as do my jiu-jitsu videos, and it's just how to survive things. And so it's exciting. I like it, and I don't know if that's a shock to people because that's out there, but
right.
And if you don't like it, I really don't care. I mean, what I am is what I do.
There you go.
And I like guns too. I hope that scares people. Oh my gosh, he likes guns. Yeah, I like guns too. It's called being a man.
There you go.
I like being a man. So,
it is so true though that people, especially in this day and age and in this society, they just don't prepare for things. I mean, and there's all kinds of levels of doing that, of being prepared, but even in basic things like your example with the gas, and everything's so convenient for us that we get complacent and lazy and are taken by complete surprise when something happens. You're like, what do I do now? Well, maybe you should have planned ahead and thought maybe something like this can happen, and so I think we could all use some more of that.
They don't want you to because it's a consumable society. Oh, I can just go get it, and boy, I'll tell you what, I've had several friends who have been in some bad situations where the power has gone out for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, whole 2 weeks, the power has gone out. And people are just freak out and they don't know what to do. And then they start going hungry when the food runs out because the stores can't open because there's no electricity to do the cash registers and credit cards and everything, because then people don't have cash. And I've seen this on like 2 or 3 occasions where my friends around the country have been without power for a while, and they have told me, they go, wow, and they became preppers after that because they know that, wow, society, even though you think, oh, the military will come in. Well, yeah, the military will come in eventually, but not for days, right? And people go look in your food in your refrigerator, in your cupboards, and see how long you got food for. Most people are got maybe food for 2 or 3 days tops.
Yeah,
and it's crappy eating too, and it's like, I'm all prepared, man. I feel pretty good about where I'm at. It's just, but I want to tell you, not you could be, oh, that's kind of freaky and that's weird. I'm just prepared in life, and I never have any problems. I always have gas in my car. I always got stuff with me. Things are good. Everybody who needs something, all they have to do is ask me because I'm always, I always have something that'll help them out, and my kids especially, it annoys me that, oh, well, Dad will help us out because he's always prepared. No, dude, you're missing the point.
Right. If Dad always bails you out of a situation, then you're not learning to stand on your own 2 feet. So.
Yes. So I know this isn't a prepping talk, but I think people would find that to be like, wow, that's pretty weird about Keith Owen, and I'm glad. I think it's really cool myself. So
I think it's pretty cool too. There you have it, Keith Owen, survivalist.
Yes.
You ever thought about being on the show Survivor?
Well, I don't really want to. I mean, that's not really something that I've aspired to because I like jiu-jitsu and that's where I want to be known for. But
right on.
I could do a lot of that.
Sure.
I just think it's a lot of fun, and you're gonna want me on your team in a zombie apocalypse, I assure you. All right, when it's coming down and the zombies are coming, hey, let's go find Keith. And
yeah, I got Keith on my team.
We're taking over.
All right.
Let's go.
Exactly. So if you could step back, Keith, and talk to white belt Keith.
Mm-hmm.
Back to jiu-jitsu here. If you could talk to white belt Keith, what advice would you have for him?
Lose more. God, quit winning so much, man. You're too focused on winning, and you're not.
Right.
Keith, you're not focused on getting better, and that's the problem. I'm going to tell you this, and I shouldn't share this story, and this is when I first started jiu-jitsu, there was nobody training jiu-jitsu, so I was one of the. Geez, man, I was awesome at knowing nothing. And so we would just be working on it, right? And there would be nobody there, nobody who was any good. And this was back in the 90s, and there was nobody that was good. And so I would be training, and as the instructor, I felt I always had to win. So as a big dude, I'm 6'4", I'm a pretty big guy, and it was easy for me to be on top all the time. So I would be grappling, and typically what I would do was do my same old thing. Like we would start on the knees, and I would push people over and get on top of them. And that was my modus operandi, so to speak. I would be right on top all the time. And then I would, do the typical big guy things. I would Americana them from side control. And I did this for a good long time. And my bottom game sucked. It would just sucked. And no one would, Professor Sauer would tell me, oh, you need to do more of, you need to do. See, I'm even talking like him right now.
That's good.
You need to be on the bottom more. Yeah, Professor. Yep. Right on. Yeah. And
you're like, why do I need to do that? I don't have to be on the bottom.
Why do I want to do that, Professor? I can push people down and be on top of them.
Exactly.
Submit them. And I would win a lot doing that. And my top side control game is really, really good. If I get you in top side control and I want to keep you there, and I'm not trying to brag, I'm just going, man, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. My bottom game, at that time, not so good. It was, and so what happens is maybe you'd be mounted on top of somebody and you would want to go for an arm bar. Well, you were very hesitant to go for that arm bar from the mount because you know that he could end up in your guard if it got screwed up. And as a big dude, you didn't want to do that. So you would hesitate and not go for things. And that went on for a good long time. And God help me if some big dude my size got me in the guard or side control bottom at that time, because I couldn't get out. It was just completely terrible. I couldn't get out at all. And a lot of people have this problem now. Why? Because they were so focused on winning. I just, please God, let me get on top so I can submit this guy so I don't look like an idiot. And really what you need to do as a big guy, as anybody, is I always say this. I say the lucky guy is on the bottom. You should be the lucky one on the bottom, because that gives you an opportunity to work on your bottom game. And Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is all about working from a weak position. That you always assume everybody is bigger and stronger than you, and you are going to be on the bottom. And working your bottom game is what Jiu-Jitsu is all about. And big guys don't want to realize that. And people will just do the same old tired crap that they do, hoping for a win. And what happens is other things suffer. Maybe your back mount escapes suffer, or whatever it is. And you get good at one thing at the expense of everything else. So I would tell white belt Keith, I would say, look, Keith, I don't want you winning for a year. I want, it was tough because I'm teaching these people, but I want you to work on your bottom game. And I just want you to not get submitted. I mean, if you're a brand new guy, just don't get submitted. Work on that bottom game and get your defenses good. And if you submit some guys sometimes, great. But don't sit there and go, oh, I've got to do just this. I got to get this. I have this one move that works a lot. I'm just going to do that all the time, because you need to explore. And I think it was here on Gracie that I saw a quote from him the other day that said, work on your bad, and I'm paraphrasing here, work on your bad positions until there are no bad positions.
Yeah.
And that is an amazing quote. And I'm going to give him credit for that. But I wish I had said that, because that's exactly what a white belt needs to do, is work on bad positions, be on the bottom. It's okay to tap out. Quit winning so much. You don't get a freaking medal in the gym for it. All right? You don't. And you got to explore all these positions to get good at, and just work on stuff. And if it doesn't, and drill and get good on the bottom game. And that's what I would urge white belt Keith to do. And finally, white belt Keith decided to listen, and then I completely now I'm on the bottom all the time. I love to start out on the bottom. I don't care who it is. I do not care. I do not care if you're a black belt. I'll be love to be on the bottom. Thank you very much. I'm totally cool with that. I will be very satisfied being on the bottom because I want to sweep you or get out, and then I earn my top position. And I don't ever want to just start out on that position. And it's been awesome, and my jiu-jitsu's gotten way better.
That's wonderful. Well, awesome insight, great philosophy, man. I appreciate all your knowledge, and I want to thank you again so much for taking the time to be here and let us get to know more about you and your life. Can you share with us your website for those who want to learn more about you?
Well, I am just starting my Keith Owen YouTube channel. It's only I don't know, about 8 years late. I know everybody else has a YouTube channel. I didn't really want to do a YouTube channel where, it just wasn't something that I wanted to do, but I'm starting that out. But what I'm going to do is it's going to be really for the subscribers only on the YouTube channel. I'm not going to promote it too much, but I'm going to give awesome videos, especially to white belts, on the basics of how to make your Americana work really well. And a lot of people will sit there and go, oh, wow, Americana. Hey, man, if you have to say, oh, yeah, Americana, I know that, you don't know Americana, because there are so many details that can really improve your Americana. Little tricks that a white belt can use, well, even that a black belt can use. I'm going to tell you, a black belt would go, whoa, those are some awesome tricks. I didn't know those. And I get them from Professor Sauer, and I'm going to be sharing them on my YouTube channel. Awesome. Basically just Keith Owen YouTube channel. And then again, my Survival Skills 101 YouTube channel as well. I'm going to be writing a few books. They're coming out probably next year, doing a few more videos, but a lot of philosophy in my books. So stay tuned for that.
Great. Well, you certainly sound like you've got a lot going on and in the works. So awesome. And you are just a wonderful example of someone who's living true to yourself and living the jiu-jitsu lifestyle. So again, I applaud you for that. And again, thank you so much. Much respect, Keith. Thank you so much for being on the show for us.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much. Now I encourage you to go be a good example in jiu-jitsu and help others.
And this brings us to our Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. Today's subject is Seek First to Understand. So this idea is adopted from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And using this strategy is a shortcut to becoming a more competent person, and you'll probably become more effective as well. Essentially, seeking first to understand implies that you become more interested in understanding others and less in having other people understand you. It means mastering the idea that if you want quality, fulfilling communication that's nourishing to you and others, understanding others must come first. When you understand where people are coming from and what they're trying to say, what's important to them, and so forth, being understood flows naturally. It falls into place with virtually no effort. When you reverse the process, however, which is what most of us do most of the time, you're putting the cart before the horse, so to speak. And when you try to be understood before you understand, the effort you will exert will be felt by you and the person or people that you're trying to reach. Communication will likely break down, and you may end up with a battle of two egos. Seeking first to understand isn't about who's right or wrong. It's a philosophy of effective communication. When you practice this method, you'll notice that people you communicate with feel listened to, heard, and understood. So, as you go through your day, your week, and your month, I encourage you to keep this thought in the front of your mind and seek out opportunities to seek first to understand. And that's going to do it for this edition of the show. As always, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your support. I have heard from a number of you giving me feedback as well as some suggestions for future guests on the show. So keep those coming. I do appreciate it. If you haven't already, please like us on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter. If you get a moment, go to iTunes and rate the show, and you can also leave feedback there as well. Until next time, this is Marty Josie, and I'll see you on the mat.